You walk out your back door on a crisp morning, holding a warm cup of coffee, ready to enjoy the peaceful atmosphere of your garden. You walk toward your favorite old tree, but as you get closer, your heart suddenly skips a beat at a truly horrifying sight. The thick bark of the tree trunk, the base of your wooden fence, and the concrete foundation of your home are completely covered by a pulsing, living carpet of bright red and black insects. There are absolutely thousands of them, crawling over each other in massive, chaotic clusters that look like a scene straight out of an apocalyptic horror movie. Your very first instinct, honed by a modern culture that fears the natural world, is to drop your coffee, run to the garage, and grab the most lethal chemical spray you can find. Be incredibly honest with yourself for a moment about how you handle these sudden, overwhelming encounters with backyard wildlife. Are you the type of homeowner who demands absolute, pristine sterility on your property, willing to wage indiscriminate chemical warfare just because an insect simply exists in your line of sight? Do you immediately assume that any large gathering of bugs is a malicious army plotting to destroy your house, eat your beloved garden, and invade your kitchen? If you are willing to admit that you frequently panic and bomb your yard with toxic pesticides the second you see a swarm, I highly encourage you to defend your pest control methods down in the comments. We have been aggressively conditioned to view any dense insect activity as a massive failure of sanitation, leading to a relentless cycle of anxiety and unnecessary environmental destruction. But before you start furiously pumping that pressure sprayer and drenching your ancient tree in neurotoxins, you absolutely must understand the incredible illusion you are looking at. This terrifying red and black swarm is not a destructive invasion, nor is it an army of agricultural pests preparing to strip your garden down to the bare dirt. By destroying them in a fit of sudden panic, you are actually wiping out one of the most harmless, dedicated cleanup crews the natural world has ever engineered. You are about to discover why these insects gather in such shocking numbers and what invisible, decaying mess they are quietly removing from your property while you sleep. Furthermore, their terrifying group behavior is actually a brilliant, ancient survival strategy that hides a spectacular secret about the thermodynamics of the insect world. If you have spent decades believing the widespread myth that these creeping red swarms are wood-destroying parasites or aggressive biters, please know that you are certainly not alone. Society has relentlessly taught us to fear anything that moves in a large, coordinated mass, instantly associating swarms with biblical plagues of locusts or aggressive colonies of stinging wasps. We label these specific red insects as highly dangerous firebugs, assuming their fiery warning colors mean they are highly venomous, aggressive, and ready to inflict severe pain on anyone who touches them. But the truth is far more fascinating, and observing this harmless creature requires a complete reframing of what it actually means to share a habitat with wild animals. Let us take a much closer look at this fascinating, misunderstood intruder currently turning your backyard fence into a sea of red and black armor. At first glance, the firebug appears highly intimidating, featuring a flat, shield-shaped body painted in a striking tribal pattern of deep crimson and stark black spots. This vibrant, high-contrast wardrobe is not a random accident of nature, nor is it designed to aggressively threaten human homeowners who happen to walk by. In the wild, these brilliant colors are a universal stop sign, a biological phenomenon known as aposematism, which clearly advertises to hungry birds and lizards that this insect will taste absolutely foul. They synthesize and store bitter chemical compounds in their bodies, creating a brilliant optical defense mechanism that allows them to sit out in the open sun without being instantly devoured. They do not have stingers, they do not produce dangerous venom, and their entire defense strategy relies simply on looking like a terrible item on a restaurant menu. But this is only a small part of the story, because their terrifying reputation completely falls apart when you examine their actual physical anatomy under a microscope. Unlike wasps with their weaponized stingers, or spiders with their venomous fangs, the firebug is completely unequipped for any form of violent combat or aggressive hunting. It belongs to a specific order of insects known as true bugs, meaning its mouth is not designed for biting, tearing, or chewing through solid material. Instead, it possesses a delicate, straw-like appendage called a rostrum, which is strictly designed to pierce soft seeds and suck out the nutritious liquids hidden inside. Their microscopic drinking straw is so weak and specialized that it is physically incapable of piercing human skin, meaning these terrifying swarms could not bite you even if their lives depended on it. Perhaps you are currently thinking, if they cannot bite me and they do not eat wood, why on earth are there 10,000 of them coating the trunk of my tree? That is a completely fair and logical question, because it defies our basic understanding of why animals gather in such massive, highly visible numbers. The answer lies in the specific type of trees and plants you have growing in your yard, and the invisible biological litter they leave behind every single season. Firebugs are highly specialized scavengers that absolutely adore the fallen seeds of linden trees, mallow plants, and hibiscus flowers that naturally accumulate in the soil and grass. They are not attacking the living tree itself. They are simply waiting at the base of the tree to harvest the incredible bounty of nutritious seeds dropping from the canopy above. They are essentially the dedicated sanitation department of your garden, working tirelessly to break down tough fallen seeds that would otherwise rot and encourage destructive fungal growth. When a firebug finds a fallen linden seed, it uses its delicate straw to inject powerful digestive enzymes through the tough outer shell. These enzymes work rapidly to liquefy the dense, starchy interior of the seed, allowing the firebug to drink up the nutrient-dense smoothie like it is sipping from a juice box. In addition to seeds, they act as miniature vultures, happily scavenging the bodies of dead earthworms, expired beetles, and other fallen insects they discover in the leaf litter. They are constantly sweeping your yard for dead organic material, transforming what you would consider garbage into the vital energy needed to sustain their own lives. If this incredible revelation about their true identity as harmless, biological recyclers has completely surprised you, consider subscribing to the channel so we can continue defending nature together. By joining our growing community, you help rewrite the unfair narrative for countless misunderstood creatures that desperately need our protection, our patience, and our scientific understanding. We are consistently uncovering the fascinating truths hiding in plain sight, proving that the natural world is far more complex and beautiful than we have ever been led to believe. Together, we can permanently transform our yards from sterile, heavily poisoned chemical battlegrounds into thriving, balanced sanctuaries for the most remarkable biological processes on the entire planet. Now we must address the most alarming aspect of their behavior, which is the terrifying massive aggregations they form during the early days of spring and the chilling weeks of late autumn. People are genuinely horrified when they see thousands of firebugs huddled together in a dense, writhing mass on a sunlit brick wall or a warm stone pathway. We instinctively project human military tactics onto them, assuming this massive gathering is a coordinated army preparing to march across the lawn and breach the walls of our homes. But the truth is much more interesting, and it has absolutely nothing to do with war, invasion, or the destruction of human property. These dense clusters are actually driven by the simple, desperate need for thermal energy in a world where temperature dictates the ability to survive. Firebugs, like all insects, are entirely cold-blooded, meaning they cannot generate their own internal body heat through metabolism the way humans, dogs, or birds do. When the temperature drops in the autumn, or when the air is still freezing in the early spring, their tiny bodies become dangerously sluggish, rendering them completely immobilized and highly vulnerable. To combat this thermal disadvantage, they actively seek out microclimates in your yard that absorb and radiate the maximum amount of solar energy from the sun. The south-facing trunk of a dark tree, a heat-absorbing concrete foundation, or a sun-baked wooden fence becomes a vital, life-saving thermal radiator for these freezing creatures. They are not plotting an invasion of your property. They are simply taking a collective, desperate sunbath to charge their biological batteries before the cold sets in. By clustering tightly together in these massive groups, the firebugs are actually utilizing advanced thermodynamics to share radiant heat and reduce the total surface area exposed to the freezing wind. It is the exact same survival strategy used by emperor penguins huddling together in the freezing blizzards of the Antarctic, just replicated on a miniature scale in your backyard. Furthermore, these aggregations are heavily mediated by chemical communication, as the firebugs release specific aggregation pheromones into the air to invite their wandering neighbors to join the thermal sanctuary. The intense red and black mass absorbs sunlight incredibly well, acting like a dark, living blanket that rapidly elevates the core temperature of every single insect trapped in the middle. Once their tiny bodies are fully warmed and energized by the sun, the terrifying swarm simply disperses into the grass to continue their harmless, daily routine of scavenging for seeds. But before you pull out the garden hose to wash them away, you must also understand that these swarms serve another critical, deeply fascinating biological purpose during the spring months. After surviving the brutal, freezing temperatures of a long winter, hidden deep beneath the soil and leaf litter, the surviving firebugs emerge with a singular, urgent mission. They must immediately find a mate and secure the next generation before their brief, fragile lives come to a definitive end under the summer sun. The massive, sunbathing aggregations act as the ultimate insect dating pool, allowing thousands of individuals to easily locate partners without having to expend precious energy searching the vast wilderness. What looks to you like a terrifying coordinated plague is actually just a massive, peaceful singles mixer happening on the warm surface of your favorite tree trunk. If you watch these spring swarms closely, you will witness a mating behavior that is absolutely legendary in the entomology world for its extreme dedication and sheer physical endurance. Firebugs are famous for mating back-to-back, physically connecting their abdomens and remaining locked together in a straight two-headed line for an astonishing amount of time. They will remain attached like this for anywhere from 12 hours to an incredible 7 straight days, walking, feeding, and resting in complete synchronized tandem. This marathon mating session is an intense evolutionary strategy, allowing the male to aggressively guard the female from rival suitors while ensuring his genetic legacy is properly secured. It is a highly vulnerable, exhausting process for the insects, and the sheer number of bugs in the swarm provides a necessary shield of safety in numbers against confused predators. The tragedy of the modern, chemical-obsessed pesticide industry is that it aggressively convinces well-meaning homeowners that every single crawling insect is a mortal enemy that must be eradicated immediately. When you blindly spray a broad-spectrum neurotoxin on a harmless swarm of firebugs simply because their numbers frighten you, you are indiscriminately wiping out hundreds of invisible, beneficial allies. The toxic chemical residue slowly drifts away from the tree trunk, silently poisoning the delicate predatory wasps, the diligent hunting spiders, and the exhausted bumblebees that keep your garden healthy. You completely destroy the tiny, invisible workforce that keeps destructive aphid populations in check, and you permanently poison the soil microbes that provide essential, life-giving nutrients to your plant roots. In your desperate, panicked attempt to remove a harmless red sunbather, you accidentally burn down the entire, intricate biological security system that keeps your property balanced and thriving. We must completely abandon the highly unrealistic and toxic expectation that a healthy yard should look like a sterile, plastic living room, devoid of all natural, chaotic movement. A garden that is completely free of crawling insects, chewed leaves, and seasonal swarms is not a sign of masterful landscaping. It is actually a glaring indicator of a collapsed ecosystem. If nothing is eating, mating, or sunbathing on your plants, it means your yard has become a silent, chemical desert that offers absolutely zero value to the surrounding web of life. The brief, temporary appearance of a firebug swarm in the spring or autumn is a microscopic price to pay for the immense privilege of hosting a functioning, vibrant piece of nature. We must learn to embrace the chaotic, beautiful reality of a shared habitat, recognizing that our homes are just tiny islands floating within a massive, ancient biological ocean. Furthermore, it is incredibly crucial to recognize that the very trees you are trying to protect have evolved perfectly alongside these scavenging insects over millions of years of shared, complex history. A healthy, established linden tree drops tens of thousands of seeds every single season, far more than the local bird and squirrel populations could ever possibly consume or carry away. If left entirely unchecked, this massive blanket of decaying organic material would eventually choke the root system, encourage aggressive fungal diseases, and prevent new seedlings from finding the soil. The firebugs act as the dedicated, localized pressure relief valve for the tree, rapidly breaking down the excess seeds and recycling those trapped nutrients back into the hungry earth. The tree absolutely does not fear the red swarm. It actually relies on their microscopic drinking straws to maintain the delicate balance of the forest floor. This brings us back to the vital, open questions we deeply pondered when you first walked into your garden and saw that horrifying, pulsing red carpet of insects. We asked what spectacular secret this supposed invasion was hiding, and what unseen, decaying mess they were quietly managing while you panicked with a spray bottle in your hand. The secret is that the terrifying, apocalyptic swarm is merely a desperate, highly efficient strategy to capture the sun's warmth and ensure the survival of their fragile, cold-blooded species. The mess they are cleaning up is the overwhelming mountain of fallen seeds and dead insects that would otherwise transform your beautiful lawn into a rotting, fungal wasteland. By killing the firebugs, you silently sabotage the natural recycling system of your own property, breaking a chain of life that has functioned perfectly since long before human beings invented concrete. For those who still feel deeply anxious about sharing their fences and foundations with a massive gathering of brightly colored insects, the solution is incredibly simple and entirely peaceful. Instead of resorting to lethal chemical force, you can strategically manage their presence by simply changing the physical environment to make the immediate area less inviting for an aggregation. If they are swarming on your patio doors, you can use a basic push broom to gently sweep them back into the grass or toward the base of a distant tree. You can diligently rake up the piles of fallen seeds near your walkways, removing their primary food source and naturally encouraging the swarm to migrate further out into the yard. This diplomatic, non-toxic approach allows you to maintain your peace of mind while simultaneously acting as a crucial guardian for the declining populations of harmless, essential insects. We are currently facing a terrifying, global decline in overall insect populations, driven primarily by massive habitat loss, aggressive commercial agriculture, and the excessive, uneducated use of residential pesticides. Every single time a homeowner takes a deep breath and decides to let a harmless swarm of firebugs peacefully sunbathe on their fence, they are striking a small but vital victory. Your backyard, no matter how small or heavily landscaped, is a critical, life-saving stepping stone in a vast, interconnected network of wild spaces that these creatures desperately rely upon. You possess the incredible, godlike power to either be a destructive force of absolute chemical sterility or a generous, educated host who provides a safe harbor for the ancient mechanics of life. The choice between a silent, poisoned lawn and a thriving, balanced sanctuary is made every single time you encounter the unknown. The next time you part the curtains on a chilly autumn morning and come face to face with a massive, vibrating red and black cluster of firebugs, please pause your natural instincts. Do not see a malicious, gluttonous pest that threatens the structural integrity of your home, but rather a temporary, honored guest that is simply trying to survive the incoming winter freeze. Observe the intricate, beautiful details of their tribal armor, marvel at the sheer thermodynamic brilliance of their social gathering, and appreciate the silent cleaning service they provide to your soil. Step back, put the toxic bug spray away in the garage, and allow the quiet, beautiful machinery of the natural world to operate exactly as it was perfectly designed to do. Because sometimes, the absolute best and most courageous thing a human being can do for the planet is to simply observe, understand, and do absolutely nothing at all.